co-showrunners, executive producers, and writers, Al Goff and Miles Miller. Come on out. And right behind them, actor and executive producer, Daniel Wu. Ioannides, Orla, Brady, Lydia, Sherman, Augustus, and last but not least, we got Thank you guys for filling the room. Thank you for making it noisy. Thank you guys for coming and being on this amazing panel and for giving us this show. I'm going to start actually with, a toss out to you guys, the creators of this. Just the story, the characters, they're so unique. There's never been anything like this on US television before. Just tell us the background on how you came to the mythology, the storyline behind the show. What makes it so significantly different from what else you'll be seeing on American television?
Well, first of all, thank you for that compliment. In a world of 1,000 shows, that's certainly saying something. So, Into the Badlands was something that Miles and I had wanted to do for a long time, and it was kind of a mashup of all the things that we loved. It was martial arts film, 90s Hong Kong movies, samurai flicks, steampunk, and superhero. So it really, that's sort of where it started, and then we laid out the world, and most shows that are set in the future either look like Blade Runner or Mad Max. So we made a really conscious effort to make the show look different and really lean into kind of the look and feel of samurai films and Chinese historical epics. So,
I mean, the visuals of the film, the colors, the spectacular costumes, the settings, all these things make it really distinctive. But nothing, obviously, is quite as central to the show and how it pops off the screen than, of course, the fights, the martial arts. And I will say, I mean, as a longtime fan of martial arts, Hong Kong cinema, again, Japanese samurai, Chambara films, and so forth, the homage here is so incredible. I remember when you guys actually first unveiled this, you had actually a selection of films you shared as inspirations for this, for those of us who were lucky enough to be there. Can you share a little bit about some of the background around this and what is it that makes the fights here so significantly different? And I'll toss that to Daniel as well.
What makes them different than sort of Western action is that the design and conception of it is completely different. Like in Western filmmaking, and I've experienced this before, is that the choreographers do their thing, the cameraman does his thing, the director does his thing, and then somehow the fight gets done in the editing room. For us, it's designed from day one to be a specific way. So each shot is meant for a specific bit of choreography. And the camera is in the fight. We're not doing wide, medium, close. We're in the fight with everybody as part of the action. So the cameraman is the third person, if you will, in the fight, and he's in there, and they're catching specific things like specific techniques, specific movement, and they're dancing around with the fighters as well. And that's why you get such a dynamic action scene, and that comes from Hong Kong cinema. You don't see that often in the West because of that disjointed way of capturing the action in the West. And that's what we try to do in Aramis, integrate it all in one thing. And including the editing. So we as a fight unit, we come up with the concept of the fight, we grade the choreography, we shoot it, we edit it, and we send that to the main editor in Toronto who's putting the whole show together and said, this is the fight. You can take out time of it, but you can't change the sequence of things because that's how we designed it that way. And so, because we provide the full package, we're able to do that.
Yeah, and as Daniel said, the fights are directed as opposed to in a lot of Western movies they're covered. Yeah, and what we do in the writer's room is what is the what is the story of the fight? You know, fights have to be, they're like musical numbers. They have to be showstoppers and plot movers. And so we ask, why are we fighting? What's the character reason? What's the story reason? So that they feel integrated and that the fights are telling a story. We try to pick very unique locations for the fights.
Also philosophically, the fights are integral to the show. That the respect we have for the fight unit rather than the second unit. We call it a fight unit, it's not a second unit. It's as important as the main drama unit. So it's like, for us, the drama and the fights are equally important for the show. And I think we had the luxury of having an amazing network. AMC supported us from day one. It allowed us to have a full-time fight unit. And that's how we get the quality of fights, which are unlike anything on television.
And this is unheard of. Like, people don't do TV this way. Usually, you know, you have 6-7 days for an episode, and they give you a day to create a fight. And that's why fights suck on TV. But for us, we have a whole fight unit that's shooting the same 9 days as the drama unit. And there's like 150 people on that crew, there's 150 people on another crew. So this is a very big production. I mean, that's part of the reason why the show costs so much. But that's also part of the reason why you get such quality fights, because there's full-on dedication to the action.
And it's also, of course, you've got some incredible talent working both behind the scenes. You've got Master Didi, you've got Stephen Fung, and a lot of commitment on camera, I've got to say. It really looks like people are getting hurt out there.
Sometimes that happens.
But we never had a serious injury on the show. And you look at this last season, we had 40 fights, and there was not one serious injury. I think that speaks to the talent. Andy Chang is our amazing fight director this season.
Out here,
and I think accidents happen when you don't pay the respect to that unit. I think that's a testament to what the show did, is that no one got injured.
Well, I can give you an example. Like when I worked on Tomb Raider, like the way they cover that action, like this is a simple sequence where I'm like jumping off rocks or whatever. But I had to do that sequence like 30 or 40 times just so they could get the coverage. And like each time you do something over and over, the chance of getting accident increases more and more and more. And luckily I'm physically talented and I can get through it and fine. There's some people, I mean, I was thinking like, this is crazy that I'm having to do this like so many times in a row, including the whole action, the whole thing, just so that the cameraman can get everything he wants. And I'm pretty sure, like a third of the time, I wasn't in any of the shots. They're still having me do the action, but the monitor was so far away I couldn't even see, so I had no idea. So I'm just committed to doing it. But like, I could have got hurt. I could have got hurt in that amount of time, but I didn't. Luckily, I didn't. But you know, we avoid all those situations. We only make you do as much as you need to do for that shot, and then we move on, and we move on, and we move on, because we've created this whole dance and this whole choreography in our minds already, or Master Didi's mind and Andy's mind. And so we know exactly what we want, and we know that not to go too far and not to push these people beyond what they can do.
I want to toss that to some of the other, maybe slightly newer to martial arts cinema. Although now it's like, you know, 3 seasons, kind of veterans, players. You know, obviously Aramis, Ali, and Sherman. I mean, you guys are out there legitimately crossing swords and fists.
But apparently not you, Lewis.
So, tell us about the experience, and also, I mean, especially after doing this for so many seasons now, for 3 seasons now, what has changed about your outlook on it? What have you learned?
Well, I think for me, I think I've kind of forgotten that every show doesn't have sort of the fight unit that we have. It was such a, this is very loud. It was such an important part of our show that I think it was something that we all set out to do just as much as to build our characters as it was to you know, actually learn the moves that we were doing. It was really nice to have Daniel with us just because he had so much experience, and on a personal level we were all very close as well, so we were able to push each other. Me and Ali being the youngins on the series, we always sort of had a small competition within ourselves to get better, and she needed to get stronger, I needed to get more limber, and we helped each other do that. So yeah, I think
yeah, these two grew so much, or everybody actually, but everyone grew in different ways. But just watching them as being like little kids basically when we started, not knowing anything, and then being fully confident like fighters by the end of this season, it was just incredible to see that transformation in these guys. And then Orla, talk about your experience. Like Orla came to fight. She didn't have to fight that much in the show, but she came to every fight camp because she wanted to. There was this commitment to her. You know, the fight camp was a great bonding experience for all of us. This is 5 weeks before we started production. We trained like 6 hours a day, 7 hours a day, 5 days a week for 5 weeks. And it was grueling. I mean, it's terrible, honestly, to tell you the truth. Like, I felt bad, but I was also the one driving them through it. But I knew we needed to do it to get to what we wanted for the show. But Orla was there every day, you know, training with us and pushing through it. It's not easy.
It's not every actor wants.
Who doesn't have the experience before.
There was a period in, I think, season 2 where I think probably the sole role of the physio was so we could go in and cry. You'd sort of pretend you have an injury, and you go in, and you'd say, how's it going? I can't do anything.
It's like a crying tent or something. Sherman, I want to ask you as well. I mean, you know, you're actually, you know, you're a figure of stature within the world of Into the Badlands.
Really?
And,
Kills, come on.
I have to say, it's like, it was very impressive.
But I mean, he got thrown right into the water because as he came in that first episode with the season 2, he had to fight me, right? And then he was a fan of the show already, so he kind of knew what he was getting into and he prepared for himself for it, but like he didn't know really what it was going to be like.
I didn't know what to expect. Being a martial artist, it got to a point where I was just doing straight drama stuff, just TV, film, and didn't get a chance to do much fighting. And then when the show happened, I was like, wait a minute, wait, I'm not on this show. So my mother called me, and my mother was like, Sherman, you gotta watch Into the Badlands. I'm not watching anything, Mom, click. Right? And then I watched the show, and I'm like, dude, I'm getting on this show. So, second season, episode 3, I understand that, because Daniel whispered in my ear one night, he goes, you know, we offered this to another actor. And I thank you, Wesley, for turning it down. I had auditioned, and it was 4 weeks later when I got the call, and I won't do the accent. I won't do Susan. Susan, okay. Please. It's like 5 in the morning, I get a phone call. Come on, Sherman, this is Susan Home. I want to get you on the plane. It's 4:30 today. You come over to Ioannides to the Badlands. What? Into the what? Are you kidding me? Okay, I can do it Friday. I can get on the plane. So I was on the plane that Friday. I didn't read the entire Saturday. Yeah, I got on the plane Friday. By the time I landed Saturday afternoon, I went through the script, and it was very well written. And it was such a softball pitch to me that as an actor, if I can't immerse myself into this role, then something is wrong with me. You know, less than 24 hours later, I was on that bridge, you know, with Daniel and Nick Frost, and I was saying to myself, I can't believe it, oh my God, I can't believe it, that's so freaky. But it gave me a chance to get back to my love of martial arts and martial art films. And who would have dreamt that I would be doing something in a Hong Kong style television show? So,
and then they proceeded to kick your ass.
Yeah. So, you know, I do this profusely to Al and Miles and Daniel. Thank you, gentlemen, again, for letting me come out. And one other factor, I did this film years and years ago in 1996, and the fight and stunt coordinator was none other than Philip Tan.
Oh, nice segue.
His dad. Hey, so I'm going to pass the mic. Okay.
So, Louis, I hear you can fight a little bit, just a little bit, right? I mean, when you came onto the show, it was you know, sort of like there was a reverberation across the matrix a little bit. People knew that there was going to be something legit happening, and here you are, you know, still alive. And not only are you a significant part of the action sequences, but there's like a lot of really interesting drama around your character as well. Let's just call it a little bit of a sibling issues, right? So tell us a little bit more about Gaius, where he is, and you know what it's felt like to join the Badlands family.
You know how Asian families are, fighting a lot. No, it was a dream come true, man. I think, yeah, coming from like Sherman was saying, you know, my father introduced Sherman to martial arts, and he introduced me to martial arts as well. So, coming from that background and being surrounded by martial art legends, it was nothing but an honor to join the show. So yeah, I really wanted to work with Master Didi and Daniel and Steven and Andy Chang. So I wanted to do them proud. So that was my goal, to go there and perform to the best of my ability, learn the new style. I've never done Hong Kong style wire work and martial arts, so for me it was something new. I hadn't got to debut my skills with a sword yet at this point. So I was very excited to do that. And I've been training and preparing for years, and it's funny because luck is when preparation meets opportunity, right? And it just happened and collided in a perfect way, and the timing was great. So although I got there and they dipped me in freezing cold water in the winter of Ireland, and beat me up twice, and stripped me and put me in a prison, it was a dream come true.
As you do.
I mean, we have Louis Tan, we have to get his shirt off.
Well, here's
like various ways to get it vegan.
Well, here's the thing with Louis.
That comes in the contract.
When we were creating this part, we were in the writer's room, and somebody said, "Hey, have you seen Louis Tan?" And I hadn't. And then we watched
Iron Fist, right?
Yeah, you were in Iron Fist in that one. And by the way, the only scene in Iron Fist that anybody said anything nice about. You. So,
no comment.
You know, so as professionals, we reached out to him. We private messaged him on Twitter, as you do, and
it was a full-on flirtation. Al and Louis were dating.
We were dating on Twitter for months, and then we had this.
Very jealous.
They shipped us,
and we had this part, and then we sent Louis the audition scene, which was the first scene where you see Gaius, where he's in the cage and he's talking to Baron Chow, and Louis shot his audition shirtless and pretty much had the job. So. No, it was. By the way, it was legitimately. You did a great job in that scene. We sent it to the network. They said yes, and we were off to the races. So
thank you, sir, and thank you for writing such an incredible, diverse show in this time. It's really amazing.
Because one of the things about martial arts in general is that it's perceived as a pretty masculine genre, but Into the Badlands has not only had some of the most impressive and strong female figures. Arguably, they're the ones who have defined the plot. I mean, yes, you've got Sunny, you've got MK at the core of it, but we're talking about a civil war right now where both armies are being led by women. And I don't think I've ever seen that before in an epic show like this.
Well, it was, the great thing about martial arts is it's the great equalizer, meaning that women and men can do it equally, and it's not about size, it's not about, power, it's really, about how they move. And, that's something that we really wanted to lean into, and I think it's interesting if you start in season 1, because you're with Sunny, and you're in this world with Quinn, who is sort of the epitome of toxic masculinity. And then as the series goes, the widows come in, and she's the great disruptor, and then Chow is there. And we like the idea that the widow and Chow were on completely opposite sides of the ideological fence. And the fact that they were both women just sort of made it more interesting. And then you have the Master in there as well, who's playing a big part this year. So, I mean, it's certainly something that we, and it was a lot of fun to write, and it just felt like there was a lot of stories to tell, and we love the widow-Tilda dynamic. We always love that mother-daughter story, and it's something, Miles and I, Miles has 2 daughters and I have 2 daughters. We see how they interact with their wives. So, I don't know if my wife has wanted to drop a chandelier on my daughter, but I'm sure she's thought about it. So for us, it was just something that there were stories that you certainly don't see told a lot, and you don't see told a lot in this genre. So it just felt like, why wouldn't we want to write to that? Because it was great drama. So.
And those dramatic moments are particularly powerful because they're so wound through, within kind of this sort of grand families at war, both internally and against one another. Lydia, obviously, as a character, is at the very core of that. Wanted to hear a little bit more about your thoughts about playing this epic woman who has gone through so much in the course of the story.
Well, I think at the beginning she had a more traditional power base, if you like, in that her power was won vicariously through her husband. He was, as just said, Quinn was the epitome of toxic masculinity, and was a very, very powerful figure, and her alliance with him, her association with him, was what gave her her status. So to me, what was very interesting was the loss of that. The fact that by the end of season 1, she had lost him. I mean, she'd already lost him, because she was invisible to him. She'd lost her son, she'd lost her power, she lost everything that she had. And that's where, for me, it began to get interesting as a character, because just sometimes to lose everything can be the making of you. It's a very painful place to be, but it can mean that you can, if you accept it, if you truly accept that everything is gone and that you have to start over, sometimes it can make you understand who you actually are rather than who you thought you were. So for me, for season 2 and 3, she came into her own strength. By this season, season 3, she has the daughter she never had, and the daughter she always wanted, with Tilda, and she has a lovely boyfriend in the form of Nathaniel Moon. I mean, happy days. So, you know.
Family right there.
So, yeah, it's a good journey. It was a beautiful journey to play.
Yeah, it will be really interesting to see how that resolves itself over the next 6 episodes. I will also say, Ali, I mean, I think the interesting thing about Tilda's character, she's sort of the moral core of like the Into the Badlands universe. And given that she's also, you know, out there kicking people's butts and, you know, expressing the gift, and, you know, there's all this stuff going on. What was it like to play that role within the hurricane of this particular show?
Right. I mean, the moral core of the Badlands would still fight, totally. Because, like, you can't not fight in the Badlands. But, yeah, it was amazing. Like, also because I was growing up with Tilda. I started the show when I was 16. And now I'm 21. So Tilda's journey has been growing up as a young girl, just like me, except in, like, a very different climate. With martial arts and with so many different influences, but I just absolutely love where Al and Miles have taken her, and it's been such an honor to play her and to get to experience like so many different things. Yeah.
You know, it all comes down ultimately to putting together such an incredible world. You know, one where the density of the mythology allows so much to happen. But you know, one of the things which I think from the very beginning, people who were following the show probably realized is that the mythology is built on existing mythology, right? And I have to say, I myself only just kind of connected all the pieces together when Sunny's real name was revealed, Sanzo, right? So Into the Badlands ultimately is inspired by the story of the Monkey King, and you know the story of the monk who guides the wayward, mischievous Monkey King to some form of maturity. That is Sunny and MK's journey. And I want to talk a little bit about that. I mean, given how central that story is to Chinese culture, really, what has been like getting here, following that story, and how do you resolve something as big as that in the amount of time you have left? Where are our central pair at this point?
Well, I think that, you know, the Journey to the West story, I mean, this is equally as much as it is the Odyssey as well. It's the hero's journey and the spiritual development of that path that you take in life. And so whether it's, you know, Journey to the West or an Odyssey or whatever, this is what Sunny is going through, and this is what a lot of the characters are going through. And we are very loosely based on Journey to the West, so we don't try to replicate the stories, but what we do try to replicate is the spiritual transformation and the metaphorical flights that happen with the Monkey King and what they mean to him as he changes as a person. And I think those are the things that we try to keep in. We're not trying to keep in the Journey to the West storyline. It's not about bringing these Buddhist scriptures to the West. You know, it's not about that. But it's about this journey that these people go on together to find themselves, basically. And I think that's really been amazing about the shows, because that's what you as fans relate to. You're seeing all these personal journeys that everyone's going through, all of these characters, and you can find something that you can relate to, because not all of you guys are fans of Sunny, I know that. Some of you are fans of Widow, some of you are fans of Tilda, some of you are fans of Gaius, some of you are fans of Lydia, you know, and there's personal reasons for that. And Al and Miles are brilliant in being able to show that whole range to all these characters and then keep this hero's journey going on at the same time. And I think that's the genius of the show. You know, other than the martial arts, other than the beautiful imagery and all that, it's the message that we're trying to tell you, the story we're trying to tell.
I mean, you know, part of the genius of the show in telling that hero's journey is that it's this helix, right, of winding back and forth between Sonny's journey and MK's journey. Aramis, I mean, MK in particular, you know, where we've kind of left him is in kind of a dark place. What has the evolution been like of your character over the course of the 3 seasons?
Well, I think MK was always trying to find a place where he can identify himself. I think he did that a lot with Sonny in season 1 as well as Tilda in season 1. I think he was trying to build a team around himself of people who were like-minded, who had similar goals to him. And I feel like at the end of season 3, as you're talking about, I was left in a place where I felt like all of that was gone, all the work and trust I had put into Sonny and I's relationship and Tilda and I's relationship had kind of gone down the drain. So I think in a sense, MK was kind of losing faith in his cause in a sense, and I think that's why you see him join forces with Pilgrim. And eventually, you know, it starts to totally shape the decisions he makes and the group that he decides to follow, and he becomes a very powerful piece of the group. So. But
his journey is also like very typical of any teenage boy's journey in life, right? Like you're trying to find the belonging in some group, and you get in with these people, and then they turn out to be douchebags, right? You go to this group, and then you're like, no, this is not right. And then, oh, these people are supposed to love you, but they don't. Like, where am I? And then if you don't ever find that love, you become this just destroyed person, right? And so that's his journey, is this search of finding himself, you know? And it's kind of cool because he was, Aramis, the person, is going through this journey also. And it was so beautiful to watch this guy turn into a grown adult over all this time, you know? And Ali too, but his journey was so reflective of what he was going through in real life. It was kind of beautiful to watch this happen over the time, you know, over all the time that we were making the show.
Daniel didn't kill my mom in real life.
Yeah, I like your mom a lot.
Woo. I just want to call out one more time something really, I think, special. It's like looking at this panel, this is like a core sample, you know, of this show. You're seeing the kinds of faces that you don't see in this epic storytelling very frequently, right? You're seeing a cast that's Asian American, that's female, that's African American. You're seeing people who reflect a much broader sampling of diversity, and they're telling a story that is so huge, right? And so much of a world-building exercise. It's unique, and I think that diversity, and maybe even specifically, you know, representing Asian-inspired ideas on the biggest American stage, if you will, with Asian Americans at the core, a pair of Asian American heroes at the core. I mean, that's an incredible achievement, and I just want to, you know, kind of throw it out to you guys about the nature of that milestone, you know, that sort of milestone of diversity, what that means to you guys. And I mean, you know, I'm proud of you.
Well, because it means a lot to us, and something we were very deliberate about from the beginning. It was something we had the full support of the network in doing as well. And yet, I feel we got no acknowledgement whatsoever with that. That initially the show is completely anonymous and forgotten. In a weird way for that. I mean, we've got a rabid fan base, and we're very, very grateful for that. But we have strived from the beginning to make this show the most diverse on television. And we succeeded, I think. And it's something that we're very, very proud of. And it's an acknowledgement of the work of the writers' room and the production, and it's something that was very challenging to do in a place like Ireland, which is the widest place on earth, to get that level of, in terms of, you look at the extras, sorry Orla, actually training our extras casting to have, we're not going to have all white faces here, and they just looked at us like, you're crazy. I remember I was on a street in Dublin one Sunday, and there's a woman with a placard over her saying extras for Smallville, or Into the Badlands, so I cast it this weekend. They were out in the streets trying anyone they could who didn't look white. But it's, if you look at the show, you'll see people of color and different diversity everywhere. And it's something we really wanted to do and think achieve.
Yeah, I have to say, it's not just the people you see here. It was a very beautiful situation. I've been doing this business for 20-something years, right? And I go to China, it's Chinese crew. You go to America, it's American crew. Well, our crew was so diverse. I mean, we had like 300 people on our set. Irish people, English people, American people, Chinese people, Hong Kong people, blacks, whites, whatever, everything. It's such a beautiful thing to see all these people working together and making something really cool. That's very rare, like very, very rare. I've done like 65 movies or whatever, and I never see that. And this is the first time I've ever seen that, and it's very special. It's probably one of the saddest things about not being able to make this show anymore, is to be in that really cool group of people, really diverse group of people, and doing something beautiful. You know, it's rare, very rare. And again, it's sad that we're not doing it anymore, but I'm glad that it happened. It was so.
I will say, on a very personal basis, one of the things which Into the Badlands did, whether it's been acknowledged or not, is I think it kind of opened up a new era, a sort of renaissance era for martial arts on television. We have not seen series in which this kind of combat was centered since obviously the 1960s. But here we are. There are all these shows that are opening up now, and I think they were made possible in some ways because Into the Badlands showed that it could be done. So, you know, thank you guys for that. With that, I mean, I'm going to do a quick fire kind of thing here and ask you guys, is there a moment or scene that was most memorable for you over the course of these last 3 seasons? And I want to begin with you, Al, and just like, let's have you share that one kind of crystalline moment you're always going to remember.
Start with Miles.
I can say the moment for me when I saw it cut was the rain fight in the first episode of the show. That rain fight is one of the most spectacular fights ever conceived, I believe. And we saw it, and it was literally perfect. There's not one frame we changed. It was amazing. That for me was like, oh, this show is going to be different, and it's going to be more than we imagined, and more than we could possibly believe. So yeah, that was the moment for me.
Now back to me. I think for me it was because the show was so insane, and especially the first season where, you know, nobody quite knew what they were getting. And it was when I saw, interestingly, it was the Quinn speech that to the boys, which to me was such a pivotal scene. And it's a very long speech, and that's not something you do in television often. And then just to kind of watch that whole sequence and see that cult of personality, you know, it felt like, okay, this world can work. That's exactly what a parent is. And to watch Daniel in that scene, and you learn so much about you and Aramis's reactions to you. It's like there's so much story told in that scene, and David Dopkin did such a brilliant job directing it. So I think that was one for me.
I agree with both of those. There's so many cool stuff in the show. But I think what kind of made the culmination of all of our efforts, for me personally, was the Sunny fight in the RV of the beginning of season 3A. Because, you know, what we try to achieve with these fights, they're not just fights for like fight's sake. You want to be integrated in the story. And I've said this a million times before, and I'm going to say it again. It's not porn. You know, porn is you skip the story to get to the action, and then you watch the action and you're done, right? We're trying to do something way. But you know what? Honestly speaking, watch a lot of action movies. It's porn. It's just porn. The story sucks, the action's kind of cool, and then you forget about it, right? You're done. And you're done with, you wipe off and you're done. But what I love about the RV fight is like we were always trying to make the fight related to the story, and there's no fight happening just for fight's sake. But that happens sometimes, whatever. But in 3A, the first fight for Sunny, it was this fight that it was raw and visceral. There was no wire work. It was just this guy's gonna protect his fucking kid no matter what. And that's the whole tone for the rest of season 3. And it's also changed in Sunny, you know, that Sunny was never like that before. And he'll do anything to protect his kid. And there's no words, there's no dialogue in that scene at all. And it was very similar to me to the opening scene of There Will Be Blood when Daniel Day-Lewis falls in that hole. And you're just watching 15 minutes of this guy trying to get out of this freaking hole, right? But it tells you so much about what that guy is in that moment. He's a determined person who's gonna get what he wants, no matter what. And so our fight scene, we're able to do that, not in a drama scene, but in an action scene, to tell you where Sunny is at this moment and where he's going to be for the rest of the season. Like that scene to me was like the culmination of everything that we've ever tried to do in the show in one action scene.
Aramis.
Yeah. I think my favorite scene would probably be season 3, episode 8. It's not a fight. Actually, it's a scene between Daniel and I. It's when we meet again after I find out that he killed my mom. It's after we get in a huge fight by the dig site at Pilgrim's Fortress. Yeah, there was just something about that day that was just like, I don't know, it felt very real. We were coming near the end of the series, and we had known it, so it was, yeah, it was a very real moment. I think the first time that I actually like couldn't really control my emotions on set. And Daniel obviously helped a lot. And just looking at him, watching him, you know, carry baby Henry, it was a very special moment for me, at least. That's a selfish answer.
That was a good scene.
Okay.
Definitely Widow Tilda fight for me. Because, yeah, that one is really emotional too, which I think is so interesting to watch. And also, yeah, it was just really fun, and it was a fight that, like, a lot of the fights that I do, or like a lot of people are fighting, and I don't really get to do that much, but that one was like just me and Emily. So I got to just spend a whole week like on Fight Unit every day, and I learned so much, and it was really fun and difficult, but I'm really proud of the way that it turned out. Yeah.
Orla.
You know, I enjoyed all the scenes where I got to kill dudes. I'm not sure what that says, but my favourite scene actually is when I get to ride a horse into battle to save Nathaniel Moon. And because it was fun and you had to learn things like how to rear a horse, and you know, it was just fun. And I think also I sort of rather enjoyed my motivation for it, which is kind of like, well, if you have a guy like that and it looks like he's going to die, you better get in and save him, because you're not going to find that again easily. They didn't have Tinder, so in she goes, and it was good fun. I really loved that scene.
Thank you for saving me. It's really hard for me because I've had scenes with each and every one of these fine folks up here, and there's one with all of us that hasn't been seen yet, and which was, yeah, see? See?
You can't spoil it here.
I won't. Come on. Jeez, I would have to say season 2, the mortuary fight scene with Daniel and I, that was very emotional for me, because I had to achieve each and every emotion under the rainbow in that particular scene. But of course, I had great scenes with Aramis, great scene with Allie, and when we're in the train thing, and I'm trying to talk you into going to help me save the widow. That was, you were all eyes that night. I was just like, oh my God. And of course, yeah. Yeah. Every day with Orla was a special day. It got really emotional one day, and it's, yeah, thank you. I'm not gonna give it away. I'm not gonna give it away. So there's just too many. The whole show is my favorite scene. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, everything. You kind of had that feeling, or at least I had the feeling. I'm sure all of us had it when we were on set, just that we were making something special. So it's hard to pick specific moments, but I will be selfish in my answer. And the first scene that I did with Castor. That fight scene with him, in particular because it was my first fight scene on the show. And I come through that Japanese screen door, I take out some dudes, I step through, and we have this huge fight scene with Dean Charles Chapman and I. And it was surreal because it was kind of like, okay, here I am, this is it. This is your time to prove yourself, and this is the time to do, to honor the people that have came before me and to make a mark of my own. So I kept going back to the monitor and checking the shots, and it's not something that I do often, but sometimes with choreography I do it because I can adjust my body movement and I can adjust my timing. So I kept going back to the monitor every take, and Andy and Master DD and Stephen Fung were there. And then after maybe me doing that about 30-40 times, Andy came over and he goes, Lewis, come here. Puts his arm around me, he's like, you have to just trust us, okay? I was like, yeah, you're probably right. Okay, I'll stop doing that. Yeah, that was a surreal moment. But there was many. There was endless.
I get why you feel that way though, because you were on a show where the martial arts kind of sucked. So it took a while to gain the trust back. Sorry, you're a fan of that.
So, on that note, again, a nice segue. We're going to prove how much the martial arts suck on this show by showing another scene. This is before we throw to audience Q&A. Every time I see Emily and you guys fight, I think to myself that famous line about Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, how Ginger Rogers had to do everything Fred Astaire did backwards and in high heels. That's what
Exactly.
All right, we got some questions. Let's bring them up. You guys ask away.
Hi, my question is for Ali. I was wondering how much martial arts experience, if any, or if you played any sports, or if anything prepared you a little bit for your training.
That's a good question. I had danced, I'd done some ballet, but I didn't have any experience before that, which is crazy that they took a chance on me. But then we did season 1 in New Orleans. We did like a 6-week training camp, and we would train like 5 days a week, like 9 to 5, for 6 weeks with like the Hong Kong fight team, and Dee Dee and Steven were there. And yeah, I mean, I worked really hard and learned from that. And then I trained in between season 1 and 2, and then a 3-week, or I think it was 4 for season 2, or did we do 3?
It was 4, yeah, 4.
Yeah, and then 4 weeks for season 2, and then more training in between season 2 and 3. So it was really interesting, like, every year to come back to training and, like, have trained in the off season and be able to try and work on, like, new things and different things, like, as I grew, as my martial arts skills grew. And yeah, I mean, just being around, like, such amazing martial artists, I think I learned a lot, and I grew to love it, so yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, so I love your show, first off, avid watcher. I know it sounds like you're ending the show because of a lack of funds from AMC because it costs so much to make.
It's, well, a lot of reasons, but yeah, it wasn't really, it run its course, should we say.
Well, I
Much more complicated than that.
Yeah.
Are you guys planning on putting something together maybe for like an HBO or Showtime, or I guess a network that may be able to look to a longer term for a show like this? Maybe 7 or 8 seasons?
Really proud of the achievement of the show. We really think that you look at the seasons as a whole, it's really satisfying, and hopefully you guys will agree when you see the end of the show. So we're not really looking to extend the show. I mean, we feel the legacy of the show will live on, that this is just the beginning, that the show hopefully is an undiscovered gem that will be discovered in the age of streaming, that what we all set out to do we achieved, and that people can enjoy for years to come, and we'll find it. So we're really very happy with where we are. We've all got, other things to do, but this has been such a huge commitment in terms of time. The show was so difficult to accomplish. I mean, it's been unbelievable in terms of how complicated it was to put together and to achieve. So we love it, but we're really pleased to be moving on to other things.
Hello, this question comes from the agreeable belief that this is the start of a renaissance of action TV film, as your fight scenes and storytelling is absolute gold. This is a question for any aspiring actors and actor combatants. What is your advice to those actors and actor combatants to get on a show like this, to prep to get on a show such as this?
Well, it's a difficult one because Hollywood's a tricky place to try and find your way. But I think, what's important is always keep training and working on your craft and trying to be better. What also helps is filming your own fight sequences and doing all that kind of stuff. Because honestly speaking, I found a lot of our stuntmen from watching YouTube and looking at their YouTube videos, and they make their own YouTube videos. One of our guys, Beecham, went to filmmaking school, but he's an incredible martial artist. He actually started off as being just, you know, a stuntman on the show, and then he eventually graduated to being our main editor, who edited all the fights together, right? But if you go to his YouTube page, he's been making films like forever. Like 50-something films he's done with martial arts and choreography and cinematography and all this stuff. Is amazing stuff. And I found that video and I was like, okay, this guy could be on our show. So, you know, if you keep making content, people will see it. It'll be out there. And someone like me might see some of that and go, hey, we need to put this guy on the show. I mean, he wasn't known in the States or anything like that. He was in Germany, and I found it on YouTube, and I go, this is the perfect guy to bring over, and we brought him over, and it turned out to be great, beautiful, you know. And then a lot of other fighters, Andy Long, who's on our show. Also, I saw him on YouTube, amazing guy who learned his skill from watching Jackie Chan movies. He wasn't a martial arts student, he learned it from Jackie Chan movies. And then he started he did this video where he did a shot-for-shot remake of one Jackie Chan film before, and I saw that, like, this guy's on, right? And Michaela Ashley, who's a widow's double, and she's amazing. She actually doubled a lot of the females on our show. Amazing, because I saw her do a video of her and her boyfriend at the time did a reshoot of Meals on Wheels, a Jackie Chan film where she fought Betty the Jet. She played Betty the Jet, and her boyfriend played Jackie Chan. It was fucking awesome. Like, it was so awesome. And I saw that, I'm like, damn, this girl needs to be on our show. So season 1 of New Orleans, I saw the video, flew her out to New Orleans, and she was on the show, and she's been on it for 3 seasons, you know. So again, do that kind of stuff. Keep making stuff, because you'll learn about filmmaking. You'll learn about stunt work stuff by making your own films. Because that's the thing, is a lot of people don't have experience on the set. You could be a great martial artist, but on set you don't have that experience. It's terrible. You'll be terrible. Like, just because you know martial arts doesn't mean you know you can do it on screen. So keep doing it, practicing, and specifically hone your craft.
Very useful, thank you. I'm so sorry, guys. We're being told we have to wrap up here. There are a million questions you guys could and should ask. But I want to thank all you guys for being here. I want to thank Daniel, Aramis, Orla, and Lewis for being here today. Most importantly, thank you for being in the audience for this amazing journey that we've seen on screen. Please tune in to the final episode of Into the Badlands, airing Mondays, 10, 9 Central. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for the support, guys. We love you.